Welcome to the Real Life Wellness Podcast, the show where we explore how to create your own wellness. We dive into everything that happens on the journey to a happier, healthier, and more balanced life. I'm your host, Faith Lauterbach. As a registered nurse and a holistic wellness coach, I have a passion for empowering people to create a vision for their life, prioritize themselves, and then live the life they want. So get ready to discover new ways to nourish your body, mind, and spirit. Let's embark on this journey together and make wellness simple. Well, hello, friends, and welcome back to the podcast. If you have listened to my episode 29, You Experienced Infidelity, Now What? Then you know that I went through a divorce in my first marriage. Going through such an unexpected big life shakeup was brutal, but it was also beautiful because it was in that process that I learned who I was. I was 38 years old, and my identity was completely dependent on other people. If someone were to ask me before that time or in that time who I was, I would have started off by describing myself as my role to others. My own identity had nothing to do with me or who I was as a person, only who I was to other people. Maybe you've experienced this realization after a role that you carried deeply changed. This can happen in many ways. After kids move away for college, a death of a loved one, losing a job, going through a divorce like me, and I'm sure there's many other experiences like that. What I learned from mine was in order to have healthy relationships in my life, including the one with myself, I needed to learn who I was, not in relation to anyone else, but to myself. Okay. First, I want to talk about how I rebuilt my identity and learned who I really was. Now, let me tell you, this process wasn't neat or linear, and it's ongoing. It's something I'm continuing to do. But it began with something simple: being curious about myself. And it is something that I continue to do, is to be curious about myself. When all of a sudden I had days to myself, when I had never really had that before, I really started asking myself, because I kind of had to, questions that I had never taken the time to ask myself before. Things like, what do I actually like? What do I want to do? What makes me feel alive? What drains me? And maybe most importantly, what do I need? These questions were not easy to answer. In fact, the first answer I came up with for all of these was, I don't know. But I made a commitment to keep showing up for myself, to try new things. I rearranged furniture. I painted walls. I got a hot tub. I ate cereal for dinner. I went to trivia night. I went to a dance club. I tried dating apps. I thought about things I had never thought about before. I had been in a relationship with the same person pretty much since I was 15 years old. I never had the chance to date really, or discover who I was without someone else. Of all the things I did and tried during that time, a promise that I made to myself is something that I think made the biggest impact. And it's something that I still do to this day. I meditate every morning and I journal. When I started, it was 5 minutes of meditation, 5 minutes of journaling. But the important part was I showed up for myself each morning. And what it did was it taught myself that I mattered, how I felt mattered, and that my thoughts and my voice were important to me. Because if those things aren't important to me, then I care too much about if it's important to someone else. Slowly, I began making myself a priority in my own life in a way that said, I matter too. And I learned how to be by myself. I discovered that being alone could be peaceful, even nourishing. I honestly didn't think I would ever be in a serious relationship again, or that I'd even want to. In the end, rebuilding my identity wasn't about finding a new role to step into. It was about meeting the real me and realizing that she had been there all along. All right. I want to talk a little bit about how this helps us have healthy relationships. When you know who you are and trust yourself, you stop entering relationships from a place of needing someone else to complete you. While we've all watched the rom-coms where you complete me seems like a romantic thing to strive for. But it's actually coming from a place of desperation and dependence. I think this applies to all relationships, romantic, friendships, even with our children, our parents. When you need someone to define your worth, then you are forever living in fear. For me, knowing and trusting myself, that shifted everything. It meant that I could set boundaries without fear because my wants and needs matter to me too. It means I can communicate honestly because I'm not constantly worried about saying the right thing to keep the peace. It means that I can give love freely because I'm not giving from emptiness or to fill this need to complete someone. Healthy relationships aren't about finding the perfect person to fill our missing pieces. They're about two whole people choosing to walk together in life. And the more we know, love, and respect ourselves, the more we invite that same energy into our connections. When I stopped relying on my roles or my relationships to tell me who I was, I could finally show up as my authentic self. And that made every relationship in my life more honest, respectful, and life-giving. Let's talk a little bit about how to start this process. If you're listening to this and thinking, okay, I want that, but where do I even begin? That feels impossible. Then I just want to walk through some steps that I did that helped me. The first one is to create space to hear your own voice. Turning down the noise, literally and figuratively, is a place I started. That means spending time with yourself each day. I talked about this earlier, but journaling is a great place to start to hear yourself and to know yourself. There are many types of journaling, and when I was new to this process and getting to know myself, I did a lot of brain dump journaling. That is where I just let everything going on in my head come out into a piece of paper. I did not edit it. I just let it flow. And this was really freeing for me. So instead of continuing to ruminate on different thoughts, trying to tamp down anger or worry, I just let it out. I also love the practice that I do right now that's more of a prompt kind of base. But what I do is I write down 3 specific things that I'm grateful for and 3 specific things that I did well, all in the last 24 hours. I also write down what's on my mind right now, which gives a little bit of that kind of brain dump journal feel. And then what do I have to look forward to? Or what am I looking forward to? So journaling was huge for me and continues to be huge for me because, like I said, this process is ongoing. It doesn't just stop. But besides journaling, I like to go for mindful walks. This is where you walk anywhere you want to walk. You can walk in your neighborhood, in nature somewhere, and you walk without music or podcast. And you start by being present. And so I like to do where I take and count 10 steps. And then I start naming all of the things that I can see. Once I'm out of things, I name all the things that I can hear, and then on to all of the things I can smell, all of the things I can feel, and all of the things I can taste. So it's using all of your senses, and it helps bring you into the present moment. Okay, so those are a couple ways that I have found helpful to create space to hear my own voice. The second thing is to get curious about yourself. So some questions that help me with this are, what are my core values? What do I need more of right now? What do I need less of right now? What are other ways I could see this situation? What might this be teaching me? Really noticing when I feel resistance to something and dig a little bit deeper about why. Also noticing when I feel excitement or joy and dig deeper there too. What about it specifically is giving me that feeling? Also, trying micro experiments, kind of like I was sharing earlier of the things that I tried, like rearranging all those activities, but try new things. See how they make you feel. Just be aware of how your body feels when you're trying these new things. The third thing is to start small and keep promises to yourself. So that's picking one small meaningful thing you can do for yourself daily and do it. Following through on your own commitments builds trust with yourself. For me, like I shared, it was a meditation and journaling. And I say start small. You don't want to give yourself some huge, big thing and then not be able to do it, because that won't help you build the trust. So like for mine, it was 5 minutes of meditating, 5 minutes of journaling. The fourth thing is to learn to sit with discomfort. And this is a big one. I wanted so badly to just be at my new normal that I tried to bypass anger and other feelings. I wanted to just be okay and to get over it. I didn't want to feel like this victim or the person who looked like an idiot. But I learned that I couldn't do that and heal fully. At first, it felt awkward to just let discomfort be and to not try to fix it. But I learned that that is okay. Nothing bad actually happens when you feel awkward or when you feel discomfort. It's just a feeling. If anyone else has been through a divorce, then you know there are many moments of awkwardness and discomfort that you have to experience. So learning that, for me, was a game changer. The fifth thing is to give yourself permission to make mistakes. Growth and change take courage. And you won't get everything perfect from the very beginning or ever. And you're not supposed to. Anyone who expects perfection from you is not seeing the fullness of who you are or honoring what you're going through. Your journey may not make sense to everyone. It might feel uncomfortable for some. After a long time of putting your wants and needs aside, expressing them can surprise, confuse, or even upset people. And that's okay. It's not our job to make everybody feel good all the time. It's not our job to make people happy, especially when that means we're not being authentic. It's okay to disappoint others sometimes. You can be a kind, loving, and compassionate person and still honor yourself and your truth, even if it means someone else doesn't understand. Staying true to yourself is one of the most loving things that you can do for both yourself and for the people who matter in your life. All right, we covered a lot of ground today, and I would love to hear what your thoughts were about this episode. Have you experienced something similar? Did this resonate with you? I can't wait to hear from you. Thank you for being here, and until next time, be well. Thank you so much for tuning in today to the Real Life Wellness Podcast. To stay updated on my latest episodes and wellness insights, be sure to subscribe to the podcast and follow me on social media. If you have any questions or topics you'd like me to explore, feel free to reach out. I love hearing from you. If you could, please review or rate this podcast on Apple or Spotify to help more people learn how to make wellness simple.